Brothers and sisters, today we celebrate the feast of the great Pope St. John Paul II, that great Pope who captured the hearts of so many people, not only Catholics, but the whole world really. I've been told stories of his funeral here in Rome. There was literally no hotel you could book. The whole city was full. There was lines going for blocks. People were camping out in parks to sleep in tents, to just pay their respects to the earthly remains of the great Pope John Paul. It was a bright light in the Catholic Church. And Pope St. John Paul said once that the secret of his day was the Holy Eucharist. He was known to be caught in prayer in his own chapel, just prostrate on the floor before Jesus, flat before the Lord, on his face for hours at times. He prayed holy hours every day, and then sometimes he would have extended hours of adoration, like sometimes 5 hours just sitting with the Lord. He really felt, and he said in one of his great encyclicals on the Holy Eucharist that, this was his personal experience and witness to draw so much strength from being with Jesus. And how else could it be then, as we believe that the Holy Eucharist is not a thing, it's a person. It's not a container of God, but it is God. It is Jesus Christ himself. And where else can we go than to lay our head on his breast and draw strength like the Apostle John, to learn the secrets of the Lord's heart by just spending time with him. And how does he communicate his secrets to us when we sit with him in adoration? Well, he sends the Holy Spirit. Emanating from his Eucharistic heart is power of the Holy Spirit, a river of grace. And all those gifts, especially knowledge, understanding, and above all wisdom, that he infuses into his soul as he communicates. Jesus really communicates with us when we sit with him in adoration. Sometimes we may not feel it right there, but something we have received by being with him. You cannot go to Jesus with an open heart and with faith and not leave with some seed of the gospel planted in your heart, with some new light. Jesus radiates on us in the Holy Eucharist. He's a radiator of glory. We sit with him, and his heart, his eyes, his presence impresses himself upon our heart and burns us, changes us with the power of his glory. Jesus is active and alive in the Holy Eucharist, in this way of being present with us, so wanting not to leave us alone, devising this way of, while being in heaven at the right side of the Father and never leaving heaven, makes himself present to us. And in fact, what he's making present to us is not so much that he's coming down from heaven. He doesn't leave heaven. That's a truth of the faith. It's rather, we should rethink of Eucharistic adoration as a real going to where he is. We are coming into the intimate presence of heaven when we're in adoration. And of course, in Jesus, in the Eucharist, Jesus is not alone. He is the body of the church. He's the head of the church. His body is the body of the church, and he's the head of that. And united in the Eucharist is mysteriously all our loved ones who've gone before us, and even our loved ones on earth. This is our core. This is our center. This is our beating heart, is Jesus. And, for those we grieve and have gone before us, we meet them in the Holy Eucharist. Truly, please God, they die in the Lord. They're present in him. They're with us in the same room when we go to adoration, if they're in the Lord. Because the Lord comes with all his saints and angels wherever he's present. And so Pope St. John Paul knew this. And he would draw from the Eucharistic heart of Christ tremendous light and love. In one of his quotes, he says, these hours that we spend with Jesus, they're not idle hours. We undertake the very activity that constitutes the meaning of all our works, and that is love. We go before Jesus, and he ignites in us, he says, and renews in us the power to love. And how he does that too is by wisdom. He sends us the gift of wisdom from the Holy Spirit, from his Eucharistic heart. And wisdom perfects love, because we cannot love what we do not know. And the more we come to an intimate taste of Jesus in adoration, persevering adoration, the more we will love him, the more we will seek to lay down our life for him. Because when we taste Jesus, we taste who he is, and he is self-giving love. And so it leads us out to give love. So Eucharistic adoration, as Pope John Paul would say, is not a withdrawal from the contemporary needs of our time. Recently I've told that Pope Francis does 2 hours of adoration back to back in the morning and an hour of adoration in the evening. And he has been on a real, I've been looking up his quotes about adoration and searching his talks and his homilies, and he has been saying again and again to the church that this is a prayer that is, that we do the least, and we need to do it more. We need to commit ourselves more to prayer. And he says that we need to learn how to waste time with Jesus. Pope John Paul knew how to waste time. Pope John Paul also knew that Jesus was light. And so as a bishop, he had a desk in his own chapel, and he would write his works there with Jesus, knowing that Jesus will radiate his light into his mind. So I pray this day that something of the Holy Eucharist will touch you.